Okay, we're live on Facebook, and it looks like we're now live. Okay, just now going live on YouTube as well. Alright, awesome sauce. Looks like no problems this time around. So far, so good. Yeah, guys, one of my monitors went out, so I gotta make sure. Hopefully a quick reset will fix that. I can get all the comments into one window. Alright, that is restored. Sweet. Good dealio. So... go ahead and get everything set up the way I want it to, and then we'll get started with our live coverage. If you're tuned in so far, go ahead and let me know where you're watching from and how your day's going so far. Or you can do one or the other. See, there's 4 of you on Facebook and 5 of you on YouTube. Hello, welcome in everyone. Sorry, I didn't see you guys right away on YouTube. Let's go ahead and fix that up real fast. Alright, Keith Capolero, good afternoon. Sherry Wilcox, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for tuning in this afternoon. Teresa Thurston is in late taps, says, today is a great day. Thank you for letting me know. Okay. Looks like a few more people are jumping in on Facebook. Hello, everyone. Good evening to you all. Going to start out, as usual, with a current look at the windy.com visible satellite. This is also overlaid with isobars, which show areas of equal pressure. We're currently in the midst of a surface level ridge here. So this is bringing relatively fair conditions to the area today. There are some showers in the area. There's some showers near the Chehalis area, as well as some convergence zone showers between Seattle and Everett. I heard a couple reports of small hail earlier, so I went ahead and put a post about this on my Facebook story. Showers also north of the border too in Vancouver. But this relatively calm weather is going to be coming to an end here shortly. Because look what's right offshore. It may not look like much, but by definition, this is technically an atmospheric river coming in. It's going to be driven by this surface trough over here way off the coast. This is going to bring in the associated cold front, dragging the atmospheric river, and then somewhere down in here is going to be our Thanksgiving system that we're keeping an eye on. And then the warm front from this system is going to extend up into our area through Wednesday into Thursday, and then it's just a matter of where is the surface low going to make landfall and at what strength. Pretty much have the time narrowed down. Alright, seeing some of your comments coming in. Just a second. Okay, Destiny Raymond Jackson on Facebook asks, will there be bad wind in Enumclaw? I don't believe so. Things should be relatively benign around the area in terms of wind. We're not looking at anything major coming up. Just looking like one of your normal fall stormy days around here. Like probably wind gusts in the 30 mile per hour range, depending on where this storm system makes landfall and at what strength. So not expecting too much. Enumclaw is one of those locations that should be safe this round. We're not expecting any east wind activity or anything like that anytime soon. Do stay do be advised that the first week of December is looking particularly active. So probably anytime right now between December 4th and December 8th has several probabilities for windstorm potential around this area. However, that is destined to change as time goes on. So confidence is pretty low at the moment with that, but do be advised that is a possibility. December 4th through December 8th could feature a couple of close calls, potentially. Jordan Corbell, a longtime subscriber on Facebook. Will there be bad wind in Silverdale? I do not believe there will be any crazy winds around the area on Thursday or any time through the rest of November. So looking like the closest we'll get to really any wind around here to end November is going to be Thursday during Thanksgiving, and then after that, it should be relatively stoic again until we get into the first week of December. That's when we could have some windstorm potential. And I'll be sure to update the Puget Sound Stormwatch subscribers and patrons on Patreon as well. First access to any of the long-range fantasy forecasts. So just be sure to stay tuned to that, Jordan Corbell on Facebook. And then on YouTube, Cheryl Marie says, "Hey Anthony." Hello Cheryl. Good afternoon to you. Thank you for tuning in. Keith says 45 degrees in Bellingham, was a little windy earlier. Thank you, Keith Caballero, for your reports on YouTube. On Facebook, Lori Lorne asks, what about Lacey? Lacey, also not expecting too much for the Lacey area this time around. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. I'm hoping we can get these new model runs to render the NAM and the NAM 3KM. But it's probably going to be a little bit before those start to render. But we have all of our 18Z models here that we have access to as well. So I'm going to zoom in as far as I can zoom in. And we're going to go to 6-hour max wind gusts at 10 meters above ground level. So it doesn't look like much right now for Thursday. See, this would be the peak on Thursday going into Friday. 10 p.m. Thursday to 4 a.m. Friday. You notice peak time originally was looking like sometime around 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Thursday, Thanksgiving. The European actually throws this low down towards Oregon now, which was going towards what the American GFS model was showing before. But it looks like the GFS and the European have switched spots a little bit on where this low is going to make landfall. So there's still a lot up in the air, and we're only about 48 hours out or so. Around 48 to 60 hours out from the event, and there's still some details that need to be narrowed down. So it's unfortunate, but the uncertainty is still pretty high, even within 3 days. Normally, you want to get within 48 hours to really start to get a grasp of what could happen for what area. All right, Rusty Shackelford on Facebook. What about South Bend? Not looking particularly breezy along the coast, at least according to most of these models. So South Bend is right around here, showing 32 miles per hour between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. Thursday, and only 27 between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Thanksgiving. And then dropping off pretty quick, but I feel like this is going to change if the location of this low decides to bobble a little bit, which it has been over the last few days. So I'll zoom out and show you guys what I'm talking about here. I'm going to go to precipitation type and rate. So the most recent European, this is the 18Z, has a 1013 millibar low making landfall somewhere between Cape Disappointment and Cannon Beach in Oregon, but it's going to fill in pretty quick as well. So the pressure rise should be pretty minimal. What that means is we're not expecting a surge of wind where the gradient is tightest on this low, which is usually on the south side of these. So European a little bit more lax on this compared to previous runs. The 12Z, the timing was a little bit different. It had it landfalling a little bit stronger and a little bit earlier on in the day on Thursday. But see, right around the same spot. But then the uncertainty really develops. We go back one more model run. This European, this one was pretty interesting here. This was the 6Z. So this was the 10 p.m. run last night. It was showing around the 1003 millibar low, so much deeper than what it showed up here. A much stronger pressure gradient on the southern side of it in a very favorable spot. Now, if this solution were to play out, see, it has much stronger winds off the coast, but it has some of these stronger gusts making it inland towards the Puget Sound as well, if this were to verify. And this has wind gusts in the 40 to 50 mile per hour range along the coast. This would be the 6-hour average between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. on Thanksgiving. However, this probably won't verify like this, just as a heads up. There's still a lot of parameters we need to narrow down as time goes on. We need to see if the European's going to backtrack, because usually this model here, the European, does the best job of showing winds with these mid-latitude cyclones. Usually. Not always, but usually has a pretty good chokehold on this stuff. What about North Bend, so the other bend? Not looking too particularly active right now for North Bend. We're not seeing any east wind activity with this either, which is good news for sure. I see a huge majority of the audience is on Facebook. We have 6 viewers on YouTube, 3 likes already. Thank you guys for liking the stream. Really helped out the algorithm a lot. 23 of you guys now on Facebook, 12 likes. 2 total shares. One of them was me though, however, sharing to the main page. I see all of your guys' likes coming in real time. Thank you guys so much for liking the stream on Facebook. So colder from the north. Well, when we look at temperatures, and I can pull that up as well. Let's look at anomalies first. So this is the GFS model, which I believe has been overdoing some of the potential cold coming into the area. Now, it does show some colder than average temperatures coming in as we go into December, but see, we're way out into the long range here. And the most recent run, the 18Z, which was the 10 a.m. this morning, isn't looking particularly cold towards the surface. See, only around, and this is in Celsius as well. So you really want these dark blue and purple colors to move west. But right now, due to the position of the Gulf of Alaska Ridge and the associated jet stream, it's pushing a lot of the cold air out towards Big Sky country, as seen here. Look at that, negative 40. Okay, so this is actually Fahrenheit, so scratch that. This is in Fahrenheit, not Celsius. So even less, only around anywhere between about -2 to -10 degrees for temperature anomalies. So confidence is pretty low for any Arctic air making it down here. So that also means that the snow risk is still relatively low. A lot of time for this to change though, so I'll be sure to keep you guys updated. But if you're a subscriber on Facebook or a patron on Patreon, you'll hear about this first. You know, I post daily blog updates to the premium blog posts, letting you know about longer range ideologies like this. So yeah, not looking too impressive for cold air coming up. Spooky Kabuki on YouTube says, "Hey all, hello there. Thank you for tuning in." So yeah, going back to North Bend, not looking too windy for North Bend either. It's only looking like wind gusts in the 20 to 25 mile per hour range right now. Once again, there's still a lot of discrepancy with this system, and this is the GFS, so don't always take this seriously. You know, this is low resolution, so it's not going to have as much terrain exaggeration, and it also usually severely overdoes wind gusts. So we're not expecting any wind gusts in the 40 mile per hour range right now. So take that very lightly. These are in 3-hour intervals. So this would be between 10 a.m., 1 p.m. Thursday, 1 and 4, 4 and 7, 7 and 10. So I believe this is overdone. So the storm would have to be a little bit deeper and take a more ideal track in order to produce wind gusts this high around the area. Was showing it before from time to time, but not anymore, at least not consistently. here and there, but it's not super consistent. So confidence is low with that solution. See our 0Z Her3KM models rendering, but we haven't started any of the 0Zs yet. It's probably going to be a few hours before we start to get the new 0Z GFS and 0Z ECMWF or Euro to come out. And, you know, sometimes we'll look at the Canadian as well, but the Canadian only runs twice a day. And it's a regional zoom, so we can't zoom in and get precise numbers with this, unfortunately. But yeah, the Canadian was showing the winds missing out on us entirely. But I don't always trust what this model's showing. It's usually just for comparison between the other larger models. And then this is the artificial intelligence forecast system. Last night it was bringing this 1009 millibar low up a bit farther north into a more optimal position. It's also starting to scoot south a little bit towards Oregon. So this would bring the strongest pressure gradient into areas mainly south of Olympia down to Portland and along the Oregon coast too, but still not seeing anything particularly impressive because look at how quickly this low begins to fill in behind it. So the winds may have a very short window once they move onto the coast before they disintegrate entirely once the low collapses in on itself. Robin says, good. What about snow for Western Washington passes next few days? Yeah, so great question on that as well. And let me see if I can pull up the message here real quick that I got. So this is what I cross-posted to Facebook earlier. This is a winter weather advisory for west of the passes. This includes the passes of Snohomish County, King County, Pierce County, and Lewis counties. So Stevens Pass, Snoqualmie, Cayuse, Chinook, and White. So 3 different zones going on here. So I'll go over it pretty carefully for you real quick. But there's a mix of hazards depending on which pass you may want to travel over, especially Snoqualmie, where there could be a chance of ice accumulation towards tomorrow. No, tomorrow's Tuesday. So going towards Wednesday afternoon during a little transition period from snow back to rain. You know, the transition could be slow enough to let some warm air down towards the surface, but not completely defrost the surface enough to have it stay as rain. What I mean by that is snow melts in the rain. That's a given, right? But when rain refreezes on contact, it's because the surface is frozen, but the air above the surface is slightly above freezing, enough to allow the snow to melt into a super cooled water droplet, but not enough for it to just splat on the ground and, you know, be wet. It's actually going to refreeze on contact, and that's what ice accumulation is. They call it freezing rain. So there's a slim window for that over Snoqualmie Pass Wednesday night. And they do also mention it here in the forecast discussion for the advisory. Right. Have maybe.boo. So for some reason, oh, that's probably why, because I'm not on live chat. No, that didn't change it either. Okay, for some reason, YouTube's only showing your usernames. Like, it's not showing the actual username that you have set. It's showing the username that you have your @ set to. So, like, instead of showing Spooky Kabuki, for example, on YouTube, it's showing @Spooky Kabuki 2.0. Like, all abbreviated together. So, it just kind of threw me off for a second. But I still know my regulars, for the most part, who you are. So yeah, anyways, for the passes, since this seems to be the most urgency right now, especially when people are going to begin traveling as soon as tomorrow. If they haven't already started traveling tonight, then tomorrow will definitely be optimal travel time. That and Wednesday. So this winter weather advisory for Stevens Pass is in effect from 10 a.m. tomorrow to 4 a.m. Wednesday, saying snow is likely between 8 to 10 inches expected above 2,000 feet, and this includes Stevens Pass. So no mention of freezing rain up there. All right, Mama Miyamoto, aka Julie, says hello. Hello, welcome back. Good to see you again. Weatherbug says wintry mix for Shelton Sunday and Monday. Not looking like it right now. Let's go check with the European to see what it has to say for that time frame as well. So I have to go to the 12Z for this. Luckily, it's already on the 12Z. Yeah, it's showing rain in the area on the European and also the GFS. GFS may be leaning towards something. But once again, like I said, this isn't always the most trustworthy model. It does occasionally have its wins. But I believe it's too soon to be introducing this Arctic air in here. So I have a hunch that this will not happen. It'll most likely be in the form of a cooler rain. But I'm not expecting snow for that area. So Weatherbug may be looking more towards what the GFS is showing. But the European model usually beats the brakes off the GFS when it comes to pretty much anything. So I mean that with low confidence. So I think it's going to lean more towards the European. Randy might be doing a video of how Fraser River outflow works. Yeah, I was rewatching Randy's stream today that occurred last night, and I saw he was going to do that. He would definitely be the best person to make a video on that because he's got a lot of trustworthy, reliable and credible resources up there that can really help aid his mission for the video. Like he was talking about generations of people that have lived there that talked about the Fraser River outflow. So I don't think there's anyone better than Randy to put out a video like that for sure. Some live streamers have it as just a set username. I think it's some hidden setting. It was different the last time when I did the test live stream first between YouTube and Facebook. It was actually showing full names. Like it was showing the display name and not the actual username. Do you think... Okay, this is Baby.Boo on YouTube. Do you think the Thanksgiving system will have a thunderstorm threat? Personally, don't think so, but I like second opinions. I haven't seen anything about thunderstorms. Convergence zone is a possibility for sure. The European has been trending up on precipitation amounts over the area, but I don't believe it's going to be in the form of convergence zone showers. Because this is going to be the first onslaught of the atmospheric river. And then the warm front comes through, and we don't have convergence zones with warm fronts. It's cold fronts around here. See, and then it wants to bring that system in question on Thursday. But this position has been bouncing around quite erratically over the last few model runs. It's been going as far north as the northern Vancouver Island coast and as far south as the central Oregon coast. It seems like the last couple of runs have been narrowing it down to between the north-central Oregon coast and the south-central Washington coast. But for the best bets to bring some noticeable wind around here, you usually want this L to be up towards the La Push Cape Flattery area. Usually off the coast of northern Jefferson County or Clallam County, usually. So I'm not seeing a real substantial thunderstorm threat. I'd have to wait till probably at least Tuesday night to get in range of all of the high resolution convection allowing model runs to really see this in clearer detail. Because right now we're working with the mid-range and the regional model set. So not always the best resolution you want to be using to forecast thunderstorms around here. Go back and check Facebook. Robin says, thank you. I will be on the pass late Tuesday or Wednesday. Yeah, that's probably going to be a rough time. You know, the European was showing much more freezing rain over that area during this time, but see, it is showing a little bit of freezing rain. This would be between 4 p.m. and 10 p.m. Okay, 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. because On the precip type map here on the European, it's in 3-hour intervals. So I won't be able to, well, actually we should be in range now. Now that you bring that up, we should be in range of the high resolution NAM model to see more precise precipitation types over the Cascades during this time. And these models have been staying pretty consistent with the timing on rain reaching the Puget Sound. It's been bouncing around between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. tomorrow. This would be mostly steady rain with some breaks here and there, but it has the main axis of moisture for this atmospheric river between the South Washington and North Oregon coasts and points in between. So mainly Tacoma southward and probably Salem northward. Or, Albany, Corvallis area in Oregon northward. So this would be your greatest axis of moisture down here. Everywhere else north of that's going to be pretty spotty overall. But it has the snow starting over the Cascade Passes as light scattered snow at around 8 a.m. tomorrow and becoming much more consolidated to the higher terrain by 9 a.m. And some of this could reach the higher foothills of Whatcom-Skagit counties as well. Just as a little heads up, Sumas Mountains area and Squalicum Mountain area may need to be on the lookout for possibly some accumulations at the higher elevations of those foothill spots here. Notice over the Olympics as well. And then it has heavy snow going for a number of hours into Tuesday afternoon. And then it reintroduces this small little area of possible frozen precipitation near Snoqualmie Pass, even the Stampede Pass as well, and going a little bit west into King County here. But it also has this frozen precipitation over the mountains of Skamania County and parts of Cowlitz County near Mount St. Helens as well. So just as a little added heads up. You notice it still kind of hangs on to some of that cold air near the surface and warmer air aloft over the passes here in King County going into early Wednesday morning at midnight. But then after that, other than some isolated little pockets of freezing rain, it'll mostly turn over to rain over the Cascades. And then the axis of moisture begins to move north with that warm front. And it only goes out to 4 p.m. Wednesday right now. So we're not in super high resolution range to see like exact wind gusts in this area. But, we do have a pretty good hold on the rain. And if we go to total quantitative precipitation, this is what it shows through 4 p.m. Wednesday. Close to an inch possible for Tacoma, around a half inch for Seattle, and then around a quarter inch or less in the usual rain-shadowed spots up here. Jordan says, Weatherbug was saying snow for Silverdale tomorrow, but no accumulations. I wouldn't believe that. No, that seems like a bunch of baloney to me. Matt Craig says, I'll be missing our first snow. Well, we still don't know when our first snow is going to be. If you're talking about the lowlands, we just simply don't know. Too soon to tell. All right, Carla Jovaio, I'm ready for a little snow. Happy Thanksgiving, Anthony. Hope you and your family have a great one. Yeah, thank you, Carla. Been meaning to stop by the store and see you guys in the early morning time. I've been by the store 3 times since I quit all this month, and just didn't make it in early enough on the right days to see my early morning, Safeway home shopper family. So next time for sure. Next time. Jordan says, I like the rain, just hate the wind. You and a lot of other people. A lot of people hate the rain and hate the wind too. But they're just in the wrong area of the country to be haters in that aspect, especially this time of the year. Andy Schley says, icy mix is the worst. Yeah, I'd say pure ice is the worst. Definitely pure ice, for sure. Like, if it's mixing with snow or rain, that kind of dilutes the effect a little bit. But, I mean, if you just have pure ice, then, yeah, it's absolute mayhem. Especially when you start getting up over 1/10 of an inch. You can start creating some real problems going over the mountain passes. It might be rough. Yes, Robin, it might be rough. So just as a little added precaution. Maybe Boo on YouTube. I'm making a paper on tornadoes in Washington and Oregon and correlation with different oscillations and other variables. So far, I have 35 tornadoes cataloged. Some decent results. Let me find them. Of the 35 tornadoes so far, I've cataloged 8 of them occurred with synoptically evident systems. Of those, 8 of them occurred in La Nina with warm waters near Cali, and negative North Pacific oscillation. Feel free. Also, I'm a little curious to see how the Madden-Julian oscillation affects tornadic weather around here too. Like, I know Michael Snyder with Pacific Northwest Weather Watch has really been studying the MJO and also the QBO as well, quasi-biennial oscillation, which mainly affects the weather near the equator. You know, I'm not super knowledgeable when it comes to oscillations, anything outside of El Nino, especially. But, you know, I've seen more on the East Pacific and Pacific North Atlantic oscillations and how we're leaning negative on those, which usually give us a better chance of snow potential as we go later into the winter. But there's also a lot of talk about the Madden-Julian oscillation eventually going into a favorable phase because there's 8 phases of that. I believe we're in the phase 7 right now. It's going to go towards phase 8 towards the new year and then resetting back to phases 1 and 2 possibly by the start of next year, which from what I see would be sufficient for some snowfall in the lowlands. So signs definitely pointing more towards higher confidence, but confidence is still low at the moment. There's a lot of variabilities we need to narrow down. Because I don't know if I made a post on the main blog post on Facebook addressing this, but, you know, a lot of the model runs a week plus ago were showing snow around the area in 2 days' time. Not going to happen anymore. That's the reason why we have to take that with a grain of salt and not get too head over heels when it comes to snow predictions around here, especially any more than a week out. Bouncing around a few tabs here. Hang on with me for a second. All right, 36 likes on Facebook. Thank you, everyone. Keep them coming. Six of the events occurred in Phase 8, and 1 of them occurred with Phase 1, and 1 with Phase 2. Okay, thank you for letting me know your stats. It actually is really helpful. So he's just talking about historical tornadoes relating to the Madden-Julian oscillation, which I still don't have a full grasp on for sure. But I know that we're in Phase 7 out of 8 of the MJO right now, leaning more towards Phase 8 as we go into the next month. Maybe some good signs for snow lovers if that starts heading towards phases 1 and 2. Alright, doing pretty good on stream quality so far. Haven't seen any significant drops. If you guys have any drops in stream quality, go ahead and let me know. But so far so good by the looks of it. Nancy Basquette, no problem. We are still pretty early in the stream right now. Although we just hit the 45-minute marker. I'm looking to stream at least 2 hours tonight. Maybe 3 if the audience is still there. But I definitely want to start wrapping things up around 8 o'clock. I didn't sleep too well last night, so I definitely want to get that sleep schedule fixed for tomorrow, especially with Thanksgiving coming up and the weather as well. Spooky Kabuki says, I'm going to play Snow Runner if it snows because I'm a snow lover. Yeah, if it snows, as a content creator myself, I definitely want to gather content for the page and share it with you guys. And maybe.boo on YouTube says, with the 35 tornadoes, most occurred with phase 8 of the Madden-Julian oscillation. Thank you very much for sharing that stat line. And actually, I just realized that 45 minutes was the preview stream. So we've actually only been live for a little over 35. So yeah, really early in the stream still. At least compared to the usual for Puget Sound Stormwatch-esque streams. Looks like it will be wet, but not windy. If you're talking about through the Thursday period, it is looking windy too, just nothing exceptionally windy right now. Anytime now, the 0Z NAM should start rendering, the regional one here. And we can get a little bit of a better grasp on what's to come with that. If we look at the Short Range Ensemble Forecast, or SREF, it's not showing much for sustained wind around the area. Unfortunately, it doesn't show me gusts on this model. If I bring it out a little bit, I can start to show you what the individual members say for potential low pressure centers. So something like a 1005 as shown here, or a 1004 as shown here, would bring relatively breezy winds to the area. Nothing of concern though. It would have to be sub 1000 in the spot to really bring the stronger winds in. But the average shows a 1013 millibar low moving north and west of the area. This would not bring strong winds also. But there's quite a spread here on the ensemble members. You see, 9.7 here would mean 997 millibars, while the 10 here would mean 1010. That's just how to read these individual members. I believe this is a 21 member forecast, if I'm not mistaken. It's a 26 member. Okay, so 26 different values averaged together into one. That's one of the ones that the NWS uses primarily, as well as the blend of models. So wet for sure coming up. Windy, still kind of a wild card. Right now, looking like breezy at best, but nothing more than blustery. Keith says, there's a great book to get. It's called Field Guide to the Weather. Learn to identify clouds and storms, forecast the weather, and stay safe. If you haven't already, also, when the NWS in Seattle does virtual Skywarn spotter training, I would highly recommend that as well. I just realized that Monday Night Football is also streaming right now too, so... You know what? As long as the Seahawks aren't playing, I feel like it won't hurt the viewership too much. Note these are with the tornadoes that I had info on certain oscillations when it happened. None of them include water spouts. Yeah, so you're just talking about the tornadoes over land. Too young for the storm spotting certificate. You know what? It's okay. It's never too young to start learning, though. You may be too young to certify, but you're never too young to start learning. You know, I started learning a lot about the weather when I was 7, after the Hanukkah Eve windstorm. And I actually wrote weather forecasts for my morning announcements in elementary school in the 5th grade. So this was 2010 to 2011. It's never too soon to start learning. Just remember that. You also don't have to have a degree to be good at what you do. You know, I don't have any post-college certification for meteorology, study of the weather, but I'm still sharing all of the information I know with you guys right now. I'm just a normal human being like everyone else watching this. But I would like to share my intel with everyone else. See if I can click the right buttons here. Perfect. The NAM just started to render. So we'll start getting some frames out of this soon. This isn't always the most accurate model, though. You know, sometimes people call it NAM for not accurate model. Well, it actually stands for North American Mesoscale. It's just a running joke in the Pacific Northwest weather community. But let's go look at some other ensemble members as well. The averages are in pretty good agreement for position-wise. Like this is the average for the European members. This is the EPS, also known as the European Ensemble Mean, or Average Ensemble Forecast. Shows an average of 1,013 millibars, so right on the cusp of a stoic low pressure area. But see, it's still quite a spread outside of this first contour here. So the deterministic is aiming more towards down this area, but the average of the ensembles is a little bit farther north in the more favorable area, but just not as strong as what it was showing before. So favorable area, but not favorable strength. But we do still have a couple of numbers we may have to watch here. Like a 999 millibar out here moving in the right area would pose a little bit of a stronger wind risk around here, but just not by much. You usually have to get well below 1,000 to really start to worry about stronger winds around here. Anything above that, it's more of a breeze to blustery sort of ordeal. Keith says, going to do the Skywarn class. Yes, I highly recommend it. I still need to do the Skywarn spotter training myself. You know, I've been really nonchalant when it comes to trying to register for that. But one of these days, I will definitely do it and get some official certification. Maybe.boo says, another thing I'm hoping to finish is about the past 5 synoptically evident thunderstorm events here in Washington. Yeah, take a close look at March 26th, because I think 95 to 98% of meteorologists around the country busted that setup, including the Storm Prediction Center. Like, it gives a lot of us in the Pacific Northwest weather community a lot of PTSD. Jordan Corbell, Facebook says, sorry I missed, Wi-Fi went out, now it's back on. Don't worry, you didn't miss very much. We're just talking about the ensemble forecast right now. So it's showing averages and slightly tweaked parameters for all of these. You notice how it's showing a 996 millibar way up towards Haida, Kauai here too. So there's still quite a favorable spread here. But overall, around 50% of the members, 40 to 50% of the members are within about 100 miles of each other or so off the coast. Maybe 150. Still lots of spread to sort of narrow down. This is the AI-based forecast system. I guess I missed the second part of your comment, maybe.boo on YouTube. Added 2 busts. If you consider March 26th one of the busts, then I could definitely see that being a point of interest. So yeah, the AI forecast ensemble is pretty close to what the main European is showing. Around 40 to 50% of the members, just a little bit farther north and west of what it was showing before. This would still bring breezy conditions to the Puget Sound and most of western Washington, including the coast, but nothing upwards of damaging, not even close. You'd have to nick 10 to 15 millibars off of this average here to really start to cause some concern around these parts. Hey Sonia, good evening. Hello, welcome back. As she said, be sure to like, subscribe, and ring that bell for further stream notifications, as well as other uploads and YouTube shorts as well. One thing I'd like to do when the weather gets active again is post more YouTube shorts and Facebook reels. She said, sorry I'm late, just got done a few minutes ago doing mod duty for one of my chasers. All is good. I was actually just watching a Ryan Hall stream myself. Keith Capolero on YouTube says it can change very easily. 100%. March 26th is weird because back on August 17th, 2024, there was another slight risk, but it had less favorable environment when storms initiated. Yeah, there were some storms over the mountains that were pushing supercell criteria for sure. Actually, a couple of those did go severe storm warned. We even had 1 or 2 special marine warnings over the Puget Sound for that as well. You know, I've got lots of drone footage that I still have to release. Yeah, I've posted teasers about that from time to time to my subscriber audience on Facebook. But yeah, I came out with my first little drone reel the other day. It's called Sky on Fire. I know you guys probably saw that on YouTube and Facebook. But I need to start releasing the videos for the individual events, because there were a couple times where I flew my drone into little low-end downbursts of rain and wind. You know, a little bit too close for caution because the DJI Mini 3 Pro is by no means waterproof. It's water resistant at best, but the motor windings for the propellers are exposed to the elements. So this is something I got to be careful with in the future, because I actually almost lost my drone due to the flooding rains associated with the August 17th storms. A really close call. Thankfully, it emergency landed right up the street from me in the middle of the street. And I just went to walk right up the road and pick it up in the middle. But unfortunately, one of my batteries decided to stop working. But after about a month or 2 of trying to charge it, it finally decided to pick up the charge again, and never had any problems with it since. So, crisis averted. That's all I gotta say. Don't know how accurate the Sharpie sounding kit is, but it generated a sounding a bit north of Portland at 5:30, and it had 1200 CAPE with 22 convective inhibition. Was that for one of the previous events, or is that for coming up? That was for one of the previous events, right? I was on vacation when the August event happened, and I got into meteorology March 2023. Hadn't seen thunderstorms here since then, so I was happy when I was here for March 26th. Yeah, and I still have all of my posts up on the archive from March 26th, too, if you really want to go back in, dumpster dive through the Facebook page. This was well before I started posting everything to Patreon, so unfortunately I don't have that archive on Patreon if you don't have Facebook, but if you do have Facebook, I do have quite the archive on there from March 26th, especially going as far back as a week before or so. But March 24th through the 26th was one of the busiest weather periods that I've ever forecasted for. It's just unfortunate it had to turn out the way it did, but also fortunate that we didn't get that 2+ inch diameter hail and widespread tornado risk. Okay, it was for March 26th. Can't really explain why thunderstorms didn't initiate. Well, the storms initiated, they just didn't get very high topped. I know I wrote a discussion about this on the Facebook subscriber tab about a mid-level capping inversion that kept the storms low topped. So usually we do get the low top variety, but sometimes, like May 4th, 2017, for example, we can't get those high top storms. You know, I wasn't really into the synoptic environmental studies back in 2017. You know, this was when the page was really just starting to get going, and I don't even know if I hit 1,000 followers yet on Facebook during that time. I may have just crossed 1,000 followers back in May 2017, but that was the day of the famous microburst that hit Lacey and had local areas of 70 plus mile per hour damaging wind gusts. I remember hearing about it the next day at school. I was in the 11th grade, like just about ready to go on the senior year of high school. Definitely, probably the most overperforming thunderstorm day I can recall, like during my lifetime. At least in terms of severe potential. If we're talking thunderstorms overall, such as lightning, then September 7th, 2019 takes the cake by a mile. Who remembers that thunderstorm event? Jordan Corbell on Facebook says, severe thunderstorms reminded me of when I lived in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Yeah, I think they actually just, the Oklahoma City area actually had a brief tornado pop up today, which surprised a lot of people too, because it was outside the significant tornado risk zone, which is more so focused on southeast Texas and southwest Louisiana more so than anything. I think they had a 5% tor risk out there today, and another risk coming tomorrow as well. If you guys want to follow along with that, highly recommend Ryan Hall Y'all on YouTube. I was 5 years old when the 2017 storm happened. Okay, so you're around 13 then, right? Yeah, it's never too young to start learning. Okay, we just crossed 40 likes on Facebook. Thank you all for that. We're at 9 likes on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube's a little slow today. Facebook's been beating out YouTube the last couple of streams for sure. But Facebook is where an overwhelming amount of my audience is located, so it's justified. I remember the tornado warning in Central Kitsap in 2021. Yes, the event that set off phones all across the Seattle area. Whoops. Yeah, there was a little cell rolling out of what is called the Olympic Velocity Shear Zone. And let's see how far. Okay, so we're at 15 frames on the NAM, so we're not quite where we want to be yet. You have to get out towards about 60 hours or so on the NAM. So still quite a ways to go on this. And this one is in 3-hour intervals as well, but still pretty good agreement on the timing for rain to move in tomorrow and mountain snow between 4 a.m. and 7 a.m. tomorrow. So it's going to begin early. So if you haven't already started traveling either east over the Cascades or back to Western Washington from the Cascades, then you may want to hold off more towards Wednesday afternoon. But yeah, there's an area here called the Olympic Velocity Shear Zone on the leeward side of the Olympics. Along the Hood Canal here, where you have you have the onshore winds coming in through the Chehalis Gap here, but you also have some of these onshore winds from the Strait of Juan de Fuca wrapping back around the Olympics here. It creates a little zone of vorticity here, which is rotation in the atmosphere, that can locally enhance some of these storms. And one of the more famous examples is the Port Orchard EF2 tornado 2018, which happened right around here. So we had a cell roll off into the Silverdale area and go tornado warn because it was showing pretty favorable low-level rotation in that shear zone. And so I really wish more people had eyes on that, because it I wasn't seeing any debris, thankfully, but there should have at least been a pretty low-hanging funnel cloud with that setup. I remember watching it on radar scope as it happened live. Back in 2009, a tornado went about 200 yards from the house we now live in. Rated EF1, but it crossed the White River. Yeah, I remember either 2009 or 2010, there was a tornado in Enumclaw. And actually, this was around the time I got my first laptop. I was 9 years old then, and I remember I would go on Weather Underground all the time, and I remember seeing the red box for a tornado report when I would go to local storm reports. This was the really old Weather Underground format, though, so it's completely different. Just remember seeing a tornado report near Enumclaw sometime in 2009, so it lines up with that. It was either EF0 or EF1. Remember that 1-2 in 2018? Yeah, that's one of our more famous recent examples, if not the most famous recent example around here. I know we also had a tornado in the Neilton area near Quinault. Can't remember if that was 2018 also or if it was 2021, but I remember getting an overnight tornado warning that woke me up. And it ended up being an EF1, if I recall correctly, crossing Highway 101 near Neilton and Amanda Park. And then down in Manzanita, Oregon, they had that EF2 back in 2016. A waterspout made landfall as a tornado briefly. Caused around $2 million in damage, if I recall correctly. I believe that's what Benjamin Yurkovich was saying from Washington Weather Chasers. It leveled the neighborhood. Sheriffs declared martial law controlled access into the neighborhood. Yeah, I wish I was more into the synoptic setups back then, too. I really didn't start focusing more on this until last year, even. It was either late 2023 or early 2024. It was around the time I started really paying attention to my own weather models and creating my own forecasts. Otherwise, I just relayed information from other pages in the National Weather Service. That was well before I started making my own forecasts. Keith says, been through a lot of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes when I lived on the East Coast 30 years ago. One photo of it, and it was while it was a funnel, has about 100 pixels in it, and it's a horrible shot of it. Yeah, I mean, the thing is, the tornadoes happen so fast that people just aren't prepared. And of course, it's so fast that you can't get the warning out in time either. This is where it pays to be a nowcaster. Like, you literally just stare at the radar during storm events, and if something starts to spin, you immediately put out a statement on it. But, you have to have a lot of time and devotion towards that. You have to know when the event's going to occur, usually based on model guidance, and you have to be ready at that moment. But it's an extreme sport, to be honest. Yes, Spooky Kabuki. 2018 Port Orchard tornado, scary stuff. Yeah, my stepbrother up in Port Orchard actually bought a house last year, I think, in the general area where that tornado moved through. So, small world after all. Just checking out some of your reactions to my most recent posts today and over the last couple of days. It definitely, it feels refreshing to get some weather action for once. It's been extremely boring and just, overall not enjoyable not being able to forecast during what is arguably the most active time of the year in the Pacific Northwest. Just doesn't feel right. But I know a lot of people are enjoying it though. And so that's when I gotta say, to each his own. Starting to get some more frames here on the NAM, but see, we still have a long ways to go. This is just the initial surge of moisture with that atmospheric river starting tomorrow morning. And then once that dries out and the warm front comes in from the next system, that's when this will start to show up on the screen here. Then the question is, where will the low move and how strong will it be? There are amazing shots of a tornado that occurred 1 month after the first Enumclaw tornado that for whatever reason isn't confirmed by the NWS. If you want, I can send you a link to the photos. Yeah, sure. Feel free. It occurred in Buckley, which is like 2 miles south of Enumclaw. Jordan says, I remember Hurricane Hugo, 1989, 4 years old in Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah, I've only been out to the East Coast one time in my life. That was Florida in March 2006, so well outside of hurricane season. You know, I was out there visiting my uncle, and a lot of other family members flew in from Arizona and Pennsylvania as well. And we all went to Disney World. The only time I've ever been to Disney World or SeaWorld. You know, I had just turned 6 years old a few months before that. So, definitely an unforgettable experience. That link should work. Let me know if it doesn't. Maybe .boo, did you end up sending the link? Because I don't see a link in the comment section. Unless you DM'd it to me somewhere else that I don't know of. Yeah, I'm just also watching the stream on my phone to make sure we don't have any quality degradations. Sent it through YouTube. My audio auto deleted. Is it in the comment section? Because I'm not seeing it in the comment section so far. Try to send it again. Yeah, because I'm not seeing it on the other comment section as well. Sorry, my mother's texting me right now. One of my dogs has been having issues with rashes and dry skin and hair loss. So she's really worried about that, and you know I'm a little worried about it too because he's a senior dog. He just turned 10 years old. And, you know, I wouldn't ask for anything to happen to any of my dogs. Try spacing the letters. Tyson, Gamblin, Enumclaw, Tornado. It's the first link. Oh, yeah, no kidding. Believe this is the link you're talking about on WordPress, right? Yeah, look at Pinnacle Peak in the foreground and then the funnel cloud right behind it. Starts out as a nice lowering with a pretty decent looking wall cloud. May even be a little inflow tail in the back of it. It's hard to tell with the lighting. Yeah, it's really surprising how Pinnacle Peak didn't just tear that up right away. I definitely remember seeing this video too, for sure. Saw this video way back in the day. It's a little bit hard to tell, but you can definitely see the rising motion with this funnel here. Yeah, the pictures are fantastic. Someone was just in the right place at the right time. Let's see here. Make sure I'm on the right tab. Still some stubborn showers hanging out around King and Snohomish counties at this time. We're almost in range to start to see this low pressure system off the coast here. Let's see, nothing new on Facebook and YouTube. From what I can tell, it occurred on November 7th. Let me check again because I thought it said September. September 6th. Touched down at GE&B Nursery on 400th Street and came along up the hill to our house. Oh, okay, so actually the first one was September 7th. This one's November 7th. So these are two separate events. I was about to say, hang on, that doesn't look the same. So yeah, you're right. Good call on that. Maybe.boo. So yeah, this was September 6th. This, I believe, was the one that I saw the tornado report on Weather Underground that day. Yeah, saying it came from the southwest. Tornado coming down the hill over Highway 169 by the Black Diamond and Enumclaw Bridge. Towards the foothills of the Cascades and slowly disappeared. It took tons of trees out on Franklin Road in Enumclaw. Yeah, clean snap on that tree. Really high quality photos for 2009. Especially with something as impromptu as that. Okay, so the first one, the video, is the one that was confirmed to actually be in EF1. Means he's probably looking off towards the northwest here. Because it's moving from southwest to northeast, and it's moving almost perpendicular to the camera direction. Seattle radar went down 10 minutes before the tornado. Go figure, right? This is why we can never have nice things. Let's check our current progress compared to other models to see model runs to see if it's slowing down or speeding up any. May have slowed it down by about 6 hours in the progression though. This goes all the way out to 84 hours on the regional model. So we still have quite a ways to render this before we can see that far in time. The NAM 3KM is 31 out of 60 hours though. But 60 hours doesn't go as far as we need it to predict where this low is going to landfall and at what strength. Still too far out to see that. Found the house that the tornado was filmed at. Yeah, good call not to post it. Definitely a good call. I'll be honest, I totally forgot about that event until you brought it up, but I was completely unaware of the November 7th funnel cloud in Enumclaw. I actually thought those were the same event, but you know, that definitely was new to me. Then again, even if I did hear about it, I had probably just turned 10 years old. Because my birthday was November 1st. Yeah, it's literally just waiting for it to render frame by frame here. Earlier model runs weren't showing much of a break with the rain for this atmospheric river between systems, but now it seems like the newer model runs are showing a brief break. Once the cold front with this system dries out, there's quite a bit of drying before the warm front with the next system moves north. And the warm front's what's producing this transverse area of showers here. It's weaker overall than a cold front because there's much less forcing to, kick off the shower activity. See a couple new followers coming in as well. Thank you guys for following on Facebook. Still 7 of you guys now watching on Facebook. And we're up to 11. So activity beginning to ramp up here on YouTube. Yeah, so welcome in everyone. 12 likes on YouTube. Thank you guys for continuing to like the stream. All right, does anyone on Facebook have any questions they need to ask or like to ask or anything else they want to start talking about? Seems like most of the activity has shifted back to YouTube. The area has 2 confirmed tornadoes since 2001 in the November tornado, but also there was likely a tornado in downtown Bonnie Lake, May 18th, 1978. Up in Bellingham, they're saying a rain-snow mix next Monday night. I could definitely see that being possible. This really depends on what the Fraser River outflow tries to do. If it's too strong over that area, it's probably going to dry out the air mass too quickly before any precipitation falls. There's just a lot of wild cards with the mountain gaps and outflow boundaries and all of that. Yeah, and like Sonia, my trustworthy moderator says, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and ring that bell for future live streams. Brandon Bachman on Facebook, thanks for keeping me updated with the weather forecast. Thank you for tuning in and being a follower. If you're watching the stream right now and haven't already followed Puget Sound Stormwatch, please consider following. I can guarantee you will not be disappointed. At least 90% of the time you won't be disappointed, because 10% of the time the forecasts are a complete bust. And that applies to all forecasters around the area. Cliff Mass has a breakdown of the September 6th tornado. Probably have to go back and look through his blog a little bit to see that. Keith says, this is what the NWS is saying Sunday night. Slight chance of rain and snow, mostly cloudy, low around 35. Monday, chance of rain and snow, mostly cloudy, high near 47. But I will take that forecast with a grain of salt. Very wise of you. Definitely take it with a grain of salt right now. Anything more than a couple of days out is complete fantasy at this point in time. All right, low pressure system starting to show up on this render. Looks like the timing and position are nearly the same so far going into 1 p.m. Wednesday. And also, Brandon, I see you've been a follower for, looks like the last 4 years. Thank you for staying along during the journey. And Jordan is also a 5-year anniversary follower. Thank you guys so much for that. Let's go look at winds real quick while we're in some downtime as well. See, basically nothing. Max wind gusts around the area, 53 here up at the pass. That's common though. Nothing to bat an eye over. 42 over Stevens. A little bit breezy over the waters, but nothing to run home about. 26 over Point Robinson as well. 20 to 25 over Commencement Bay. And 47 here at Camp Muir. Surprisingly, no wind being picked up at Chinook Summit. And along the coast, pretty much nada. Just typical boring weather. The high pressure is going to begin moving out, and that low pressure is going to start to slide in a little bit. So this is our incoming atmospheric river off the coast. By definition, you may disagree with it, but by definition, this is an atmospheric river. And if you want to go really technical, could also be pushing Pineapple Express status as well. But unfortunately, Windy decided to freeze. Yeah, it's extending down towards Hawaii, so you could consider this a Pineapple Express if you wanted to get real technical. And our Thursday system is yet to form. It's somewhere out in here. Probably won't work. You know what? That's okay. I will look for it later on. All right, we just crossed 50 likes on Facebook. Thank you guys so much for that. Let's go check on radar scope as well. So like the shower that was over Lewis and Thurston counties is starting to lose some steam now. It's producing a little bit of rain over the I-5 corridor today. Some of it moderate. And even some shower activity along the coast as well. Still hanging on to what looks like convergence zone showers over northern King and southern Snohomish counties. See how it's nearly stationary for the most part? Kind of looks like sort of a convergence zone feature. Probably some moderate to heavy rain on Highway 203 between Monroe and Duval right now. And it's going to stay there for a little bit till the shower dies out. Looks like the low is heading north. Well, it's heading off towards the northeast, maybe a little bit south of northeast. But it's currently taking a trajectory still somewhere towards Cape Flattery. Then the models are hinting at having it kind of bend down a little bit and then start moving off towards the southeast. Or a little bit more due east. So it'll sort of move like this. See if this NAM agrees with it when we start to get in range, as some more frames start to render with this. There it is. Shows its face right there as a 1009 millibar low. So compared to the last run, it's a little weaker, which is a good sign for those of you who are less tolerant to anything more than a breeze. We're just finally starting to see this low show up in the regional sector. See, the warm front's already over the area, so this warms up the pass level temperatures to over freezing, which means it'll fall as rain towards the passes, but maybe still snow at the higher elevations, like higher than pass level. All right, 16 likes on YouTube. Thank you, guys. If you haven't already, go ahead and like the stream. Share it to your friends and family if you like the coverage. And also, if you're interested, please consider a small donation of a coffee to help support Puget Sound Stormwatch and keep us up at full-time status. Link will be below in the comments on both Facebook and YouTube. So I received one more coffee today, so thank you to whoever sent that. Really do appreciate it. Although, not looking like it's going to be enough to survive off of in the long run, so we'll probably be stepping down from full-time coverage on Puget Sound Stormwatch in January so that I can jump back into the full-time job market. It's not what I want to do, but it may be what I have to do. The truth is I need several thousand of you to donate $1 a month to help keep the streams up full-time. But as a lot of people say, keep dreaming. And you got to do what you got to do. So one of my most recent posts said you could always take the long way and go through the gorge. That's assuming the NWS in Portland doesn't also have a winter weather advisory for the gorge. But I don't believe they do yet. You can actually look that up right here, right now. For the northern end of the gorge, yeah, but overall for the gorge, not looking like there's any winter weather alerts in that area right now. And also, while we're in a bit of a lull here as well, going to be releasing some new designs to the Stormwatch store for Black Friday. So if you guys are interested in checking out some of the designs, the link will also be posted in the comments section. So looking to release 3 or 4 designs, possibly more, depending on how the layout looks on the shirts. It's going to be a combo of square and rectangular shaped images, kind of like these. It's really going to depend on how it looks on the shirts. If you guys would like to check out the stores, there should be some killer Black Friday discounts coming up in the next couple of days. So, yeah. Thank you for all the support, everyone. It really means a lot. Looks like maybe it's starting to take the southward bobble right around here, which would bring it into either Clatsop or Tillamook counties in Oregon. A little bit hard to tell right now. At least on the previous run, it took it more into the central Washington coast, which would bring the pressure gradient down through the southwest interior and Willamette Valley of Oregon. And 12Z had something similar. 6Z was way up north. But the 0Z doesn't go as far out in the time. Yesterday's 0Z. So let's just see if the NAM has a southward bobble or if it keeps it on this track. Because if it moves a little bit north and stays at this intensity, it would be breezy at best. Breezy, maybe blustery. Maybe not boo, that's okay. Keith Capillero says, like Highway 20 in Skagit, Whatcom County. Yeah, so we're almost out to hour 60 here. Wonder if... Almost done rendering the NAM 3 cam. Wonder if it shows the low in a similar spot. So this would be right around 7 p.m. that day. Yeah, it's pretty close. It's definitely pretty close. It's going to be something we'll have to keep tabs on over the next couple of days. But one thing I know for sure is Thanksgiving evening, I'm going to be spending it with my family, so there will likely be no weather updates on Thanksgiving Eve. Just as a heads up. But I'll make sure to post the updates Thanksgiving morning for hopefully a higher confidence event as we get within 24 hours of some wind. So expect some posts Wednesday night and Thursday morning talking about the possibility of some Puget Sound winds around the area. So this has it weakening down to 10-10 by this point. So still trending down quite a bit weaker than the previous model run. Spooky Kabuki says, I'll get a hoodie hopefully soon. Thank you very much. Someone else on here, I don't think they're on here today. They were on here a few streams back, said that they made an order on the Puget Sound Stormwatch store. So I was meaning to check back in with them, but I lost track of who it was. Because they definitely got their products by now. I just wanted to make sure that they were top-notch quality and exactly as they were expecting. Otherwise, they could go through the Spreadshop store for a refund if needed as well. But I know my grandparents got a couple designs and they turned out pretty good. The water bottle turned out really good too with the Stormwatch logo on it. So that was really encouraging to see. It's a good sign for the future. All right, so we're out to hour 60, so we still have 24 more hours on this. We're well within range now of this little low pressure system here on the regional model. It's going to take a little bit for the Canadian regional to render, but this isn't always the most accurate model here, the Canadian RDPS. Be interested to see what the high resolution HRDPS shows as well. But, you know, a lot of these cams here are experimental, so I don't use them for making primary forecasts. You know, they're only used for, like, secondary opinions, basically. On April 24th, 1958, an F-0 tornado occurred north of Walla Walla and apparently traveled 45 miles. Yeah, it could have been one of those long track cells as well that has a recycling tornado. Excuse me. As this happens a lot in the Midwest. Ooh. Look at that. Ben's just saw Benjamin Yurkovich is stream sniping me right now. Let's see, which platform is he on? It's a little hard to tell. He might be on YouTube. Might also be on Facebook too. But I know that Ben is stream sniping me right now, as we would call it nowadays. So Ben, if you're out there, show yourself. Model looks like it has eyes in the face. Yeah, so see, it starts to trend a little more due east here now. So it may try to make landfall somewhere around Cape Disappointment or Long Beach in this scenario, which once again would keep any of the pressure gradients south of our area. That's funny. Yep, he's on YouTube. Hey, everyone go say hi to Ben for me. Looks like we got an extra sub, so we just hit 1.16K, 1,160. Ben, thank you so much for tuning in to the stream tonight. Yeah, pretty much just patiently waiting for this model run. And no, it looks like it's going to be a little bit north of Long Beach, so probably somewhere in the Grays Harbor region. Compared to previous model runs, it's a little bit farther south and shaving a couple of millibars of pressure off of it. So once again, not overly impressive, nothing to run home about, but a breezy day nonetheless around the area. So once again, do note the lower resolution. So the terrain accuracy is going to be much lower than the high-res models. It does bring some windy gusts all along the Oregon coast, and especially off the Washington coast here, but we're not far enough in time to see just how far north these winds could make it. Another interesting tornado was on June 4th, 2006, north of Boise. Path width of 1,760 yards or 1 mile was rated F2. Was it really a mile wide? If we had a mile-wide tornado north of Boise, that would be absolutely incredible. And yeah, I believe that was right before the enhanced Fujita scale went into effect. Actually looks like it strengthens by a millibar there for one frame. And then moves inland, but south of the area. In terms of wind gusts, has things kicking up a little bit over the Puget Sound, but not much over land. So if you guys aren't fans of the wind, then this is a good downtrend to pay attention to. See, right now, the NAM Regional, once again, not a primary model of use. This is really just for deterministic use. Showing around 23 miles per hour for Seattle, 15 for Everett, 15 for Mount Vernon, 18 miles per hour for Victoria, BC. If we pinpoint Bellingham here, around 19 miles per hour, and only 13 miles per hour for Olympia. So, nothing impressive by any means, but compared to the stoic weather we've had recently, it's definitely a breath of fresh air for sure. Going to be a little breezy, exactly as Keith said. All right, let's see. We've been going for an hour and a half here on YouTube. And same here on Facebook, right around the same time. I think I started streaming just seconds apart from each other. Yeah, I went live on Facebook about 4 seconds ahead of YouTube, so we're at 97 minutes right now and counting. So a big goal of mine is to work up that watch hour count here on YouTube. You know, we're trying to get to the point where we can enable super chats and channel memberships. It would be a huge step in developing the Puget Sound Stormwatch brand. But you notice here, as we go into the next frame, it kicks things up just a tad bit for Seattle and vicinity. Once again, disclaimer, I gotta say right now, low confidence. And we're also using a lower resolution regional model and not one of the high-res close-range models. So, most likely not going to play out like this. You just have to put that out there right now. Hang on, I misplaced my windows here. Okay, there we go. I had to make sure I didn't accidentally show my streaming window instead of my my viewing window. See a few new followers coming in on Facebook. Thank you guys. "17 likes on YouTube, 55 likes now on Facebook." There was a National Weather Service case study on it, and it states the tornado would continue northeast and grow to half a mile wide, but the official damage survey has it at 1760 yards. Yeah, 1760 yards is exactly 1 mile. So if it was a half mile wide, it would be 880 yards. So there might have been a little small, very small part of the damage path that exceeded a mile wide or got up to a mile wide. Which still, for Pacific Northwest standards, that is beyond impressive. See, and then as we go farther in time, it really knocks off the wind gusts as we go into the morning time on Black Friday. Then it starts to bring the wind gusts to the east side of the Cascade Crest when the backside of that pressure rise goes over the mountains. But it's not going to be particularly impressive because that low is filling in as it moves towards the coast. And what that means is that the pressure gradient is going to be nowhere near as intense once it moves inland. Which means the lines become farther apart from one another. Yeah, so now that the And we just finished the run on that too. So this has the warm front coming through between 4 p.m., 7 p.m. on Wednesday. It hangs around for a little bit, and then some remnant moisture and the low pressure system comes through sometime Thanksgiving afternoon around 1 p.m. A low pressure center comes through. The rain hangs on a little bit into the night, and then it dries out by 10 p.m. You see here the NAM models also showing that freezing rain risk over parts of Snoqualmie Pass downstream, even as far down as Thorpe, possibly, too. So heads up from Snoqualmie Pass down to Thorpe. This model also shows a risk of freezing rain along I-90 and surrounding areas. This would be at 7 p.m. tomorrow. So if you're traveling overnight east of the Cascade Crest, big heads up to you. An accompanying microburst. So just as a refresher for anyone that may have missed it, we're looking at rain to move into the area with a little short-lived atmospheric river as soon as 6 a.m. tomorrow, possibly earlier. So anytime in the next 12 hours or so, we're going to have this rain come in, and it's going to start falling as snow over the Cascade Passes as well as the Olympics too. That's going to last for quite some time, and then we dry out a little bit Wednesday morning. And then that warm front comes through Wednesday afternoon. So looks like we may have a little bit of drying time with this. This is well within range of the NAM 3KM high-res model that we can check out too, and that is also fully initialized. This is on an hourly basis as well, so it has the tail end of rain reaching the Tacoma area by 5. It could start raining in Olympia as soon as 4, maybe even earlier than that. It has the snow starting over the passes at 6 a.m. And then widespread rain showers for a few hours, starting to dry out in the afternoon time. Possibility for maybe a convergence zone up here. As we go into midnight Wednesday, we start to dry out, as isolated showers possible, and then the warm front comes in. Impacts the Tacoma area starting around 6 p.m. on Wednesday. And then the back end of that warm front starts to push through by 4 a.m. on Thursday, and then that's where the model run cuts off. You notice the NAM 3KM also showing that freezing rain here too over the pass, especially Snoqualmie. Has it starting maybe sometime around 5 p.m. tomorrow. You know, we'll be watching the wind direction as well because there's talks about some warm westerlies and some colder easterlies meeting up over the pass, which could allow some warm air in just enough to melt the snow and then refreeze it on contact as super cooled rain droplets, which is the whole basis of freezing rain after all. See if it shows anything for wind during this time. So this would be tomorrow morning here. Could have a little bit of wind out of the east. Nothing serious, just a noticeable breeze out of the east with that system coming in. Maybe a little stronger over the inland waters like the Salish Sea as well. Even has some winds coming in through the Nisqually gaps as well. Then when that system comes through early Wednesday morning, a little bit breezy here, around 25 miles per hour for the South and Central Sound. Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah, one thing I noticed too. Fraser River outflow, textbook signature right there. And these are, once again, these are wind gusts. So it has wind gusts possibly breaking 30 miles per hour for parts of Sumas, Linden, Ferndale, Custer, Lummi, Neptune Beach, and some surrounding areas like Blaine as well. This also extends all the way out to the San Juan Islands too. Victoria, BC getting up to 25 miles per hour out of the northeast. Keith, I bet this interests you for sure. Just in time, Keith said, yes, it is. Yeah, it has that outflow really starting to pick up early in the morning on Thursday, Thanksgiving. So 2 a.m. It just has it coming pretty good in from the northeast as the sun starts to rise on Thanksgiving Day. See what this says temperature-wise for the area. Yeah, surface temp doesn't change very much. It's still pretty mild up there. Really mild down here in the South Sound, especially off the coast with that warm front coming in. That's what Randy was talking about. Exactly. So yeah, that's just a run through of the NAM 3KM again. Let's see if anything shows up on the HER 3KM of interest. This one only goes out to 48 hours, not 60. But showing a little bit of a southeasterly component again with this. This is 1 p.m. tomorrow. It could be breezy from the southeast direction over the Salish Sea, including more susceptible areas like Whidbey Island, Diamond Point, parts of Jamestown Indian Reservation, San Juan Islands, and some of these mountain gaps out here as well. See, even along the coast has some wind gusts pushing 40 on the HER model. And then that front comes through. Notice that clean slice right there. And kicks up a little bit, around 25 miles per hour. So good agreement here in the South Sound between the high-res models. And then it just kind of calms down as we go into Wednesday afternoon. But that's as far as that model goes. It won't be until later on Tuesday night when the HER model is in full range of this. Waiting to see whenever the 0Z GFS begins to drop. Hopefully in the next hour or so. And this is an experimental model as well. So this shouldn't always be used for decision making. This one only goes out to 35 right now, but it normally goes out to 84. Still has a way to render though, but still showing some pretty good agreement for some east winds coming out of the Nisqually River area here, possibly affecting parts of the I-5 corridor from Olympia all the way down to Longview. And same up here in the Salish Sea region as well, east straight of Juan de Fuca. The one before that was showing some pretty interesting numbers, but once again, take it with a grain of salt. This is an experimental model and most likely will not happen like this. But this would be a huge overperformance, but I highly, highly doubt that this will happen. This is pretty much just eye candy at this point. Maybe Boo says I'm back. Welcome back, my friend. Yeah, this is pure eye candy. Once again, experimental product, not for decision making. However, as far as I know, this model is set to take over for the NAM 3KM for commission next year. Sometime next year, possibly. This one could take full commission. See, it has a relatively deep low in a favorable spot. So If this does happen, it would be noticeably breezy, but very unlikely to happen like this. This is the only model right now showing this. I want to see if we can compare it to any previous runs just to get an idea of the consistency between models. And the consistency is out the window, just like that. So yeah, I went to 12Z, has it off the map way up here, and then 18Z, it brought it way down south. And we're waiting for 0Z to render, but I'm not going to hold my breath on this solution. I just wish the European was a little more consistent on this, because right now it has more of an easterly track instead of a northeasterly track. It also starts to fill in the low pretty quickly, and then it becomes almost non-existent. Basically as soon as it hits land. Still has a pretty strong cold front ahead of it that could kick up the breeze quite a bit. But not showing up too well here on the wind gust map. All right, we got a question in the chat on YouTube. Do you feel any tornadoes in the past? There's probably EF 4 or 5 strength in Washington, Oregon, or Idaho. If you're talking about like opinion-wise, then definitely not. Like observed-wise, the most that we've had are F3s. So I think the strongest tornado since the EF scale took over was the Port Orchard EF2. Someone do please correct me if I'm wrong. But, you know, we haven't had an EF3 tornado here in the Pacific Northwest yet, since the 2007 redesign of the Fujita scale. I know we had an F3, I believe the date was April 5th, 1972, down in the Portland and Vancouver area. The deadliest the deadliest tornado in Pacific Northwest history. Killed several people down there. And then back in 1969 as well, we had an F3 actually in the Kent area. So pretty close to home. It might have also, unless it was a different event, I remember there was a waterspout that crossed Lake Washington as well around the same time. I don't know if that's the same event or a different event, but I know that there were pictures of an F3 tornado near one of the Boeing warehouses, I believe, back in 1969. Do you think that any tornadoes were underrated? I don't believe that's my call to make. I haven't studied those in depth enough to really make that judgment. So I feel like they were properly rated for the time period that they occurred. You know, they were rated by the NWS, and that's about as credible as you can get. Looks like most of the Facebook audience has gone away for the night. YouTube's still hanging on by a thread, though. Thank you guys for continuing to watch. Really trying to help build some watch hour time on YouTube so we can work towards YouTube monetization. Because things are pretty slow financially here right now for PSSW. So slow that I may actually have to step down from full-time work here on PSSW just to get another full-time job to keep a roof over my head. Yeah, anytime now, the 0Z GFS should begin dropping. And it's going to be, probably won't be until 8:30 or 9 when the 0Z Euro here starts to render. So that's going to be well after the stream is over, though. I'll definitely post an update on that in the morning time for sure. Yeah, the Euro model does have it getting breezy on Wednesday morning. A little bit breezy overnight too. This would be between 10 a.m. and 4. Okay, this is actually no. This was earlier today. So this is going to be between 4 and 10. And notice, not very much at all. And then we start to get this northwesterly flow out of the Strait of Georgia, and then the westerly flow out of the Strait of Juan de Fuca after that. Let me just make sure this isn't backflowing. I didn't have my so my directions were backwards, excuse me on that. This is actually going to pull a gradient through the Strait of Georgia, not push. So these are all offshore winds. So yeah, the frontal system is right here. This is what's going to usher in the atmospheric river as seen here. It's going to pull some offshore flow up through the Strait of Georgia and the Strait of Juan de Fuca tomorrow. So had that completely backwards there for a second. Do you know of any busts besides March 26th in the Pacific Northwest? I'll add it to the studied list. Not quite sure about thunderstorm busts, but if you want a windstorm bust, go back to, I believe it was October of 2016. Remember, I believe it was a bomb cyclone that was going to make a really close approach to us and bring a major windstorm, and it ended up taking a northward bobble at the last minute and completely missed us for Haida Gwaii, aka the Queen Charlotte Islands. It spared us a huge windstorm that month. So yeah, I believe it was October 2016 if you want to look at that. Because I wasn't a model watcher at the time. I didn't write my own forecasts. I was just restating what other people said and sharing posts from other credible pages, including the NWS. So I actually used models that were mainly posted to Twitter when it was called Twitter at the time, because I followed a lot of weather people on Twitter, including Michael Snyder. Yeah, will do. Other than that, I can't think of any significant busts when it comes to weather around the area. If anyone knows any big time busts, like throughout recorded history around here, feel free to let maybe.boo know on YouTube. The AI forecast system. Still bouncing around a little bit here. Strength is definitely bouncing around on this system. At least according to the AI model. So it's really just based on which model you want to use. It's really just a huge toss-up. Definitely a complicated forecast for sure. But I don't think there's any non-complicated forecasts around here, if we're being brutally honest. All right, while we're passing time, does anyone else have any comments, questions, or concerns? This is around the time I originally wanted to wrap up the stream. So we had a little surge of people on Facebook there for a moment, but it looks like most of the YouTube people are starting to head out for the night. So if anyone else wants anything they want to address, feel free to right now. I'm open to pretty much anything at the moment. All right, here's a good one. When will you be back for more reporting? May do a short live stream tomorrow, depending on how things go. I know I do have a couple of plans tomorrow. Like I need to go get a haircut before Thanksgiving. I'll probably stop by my parents' house, go and see my dogs and all of that. Looks like Wednesday I'm going to be a little busy, so not looking for a Wednesday live stream right now. You think that with climate change, the waters up here will be warmer, lead to a more moist environment for severe weather? That's a great question, and there's definitely a lot more to it than warm water. You know, you need to have all of the oscillations line up, like the Eastern Pacific Oscillation, you know, Pacific North Atlantic Oscillation, ENSO, El Nino Southern, Madden Julian Oscillation is probably going to be a huge one because that one focuses a lot on convective potential as well. But yeah, warmer waters, like I'm sure you've heard of the blob before. We actually we had some sort of blob off the coast. Believe later in the summer, earlier this fall, if I'm not mistaken, where there was an area of above average water temperature. But as we saw, that didn't really amount to much. You know, there's a lot of other ingredients that have to line up for that. Like the jet stream position is crucial as well. So I think just in general, I think it's going to take more than warmer water to really enhance the convective potential around here. Just my 2 cents to that. Yeah, Sonia said, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We do greatly appreciate your support. And huge shout out to Sonia for volunteering to be a moderator on here. She definitely helps things go smoothly, for sure. Snow levels will begin the day Tuesday, 1,500 to 2,000 feet. Yeah, pretty low, for sure. That is well below pass level for all the way across the Cascades. Even starting to push some upper foothill elevation as well. All right, just hit 20 likes on YouTube. Awesome sauce. Thank you for that, everybody. If you guys like the stream tonight, do be sure to like and share with your friends. Really helps a lot. Watch for your update tomorrow. Thank you. Yes, thank you for tuning in. Second question, do you think that May 30th, 2020 was the worst severe thunderstorm event since April 1972? If I'm not mistaken, that was the only enhanced risk that we've had in Washington State, but that was east of the Cascades, for eastern Washington. I'll be honest, I once again wasn't paying close attention to synoptics back then. Probably have to go through a reanalysis of the synoptic setup to really verify that. Also, new comment on Facebook. It's been a little bit. Patrick Jacob Morrison, hello. Is the snow level predicted to drop below 1,500, or is that about as low as it'll go this week? I'd say that's around as low as it'll go this week. For the most part, it shouldn't stay much below 2,000. 1,500 to 2,000 is around as low as it should be, according to model guidance. You know, originally we were talking about maybe some lowland snow, like a week and a half ago in the model runs, but of course that never verified. That's why you don't always trust what you see a week and a half out. It's just guidance, and you usually have to rely on shorter term model guidance to really come to that conclusion. Yeah, as Keith said on YouTube, snow levels should rise to well above 5,000 feet by midday Wednesday. Yeah, that's going to be right when that warm front comes through. You know, it's going to bring that warm air in and slide it above the cold air already in place, which will effectively raise the snow level to overpass level. So it'll be raining at the passes almost certainly by Wednesday night. But yeah, maybe not boo. I would have to go back in time and reanalyze all of that. But that is a great question, though. Looks like just about to cross 70 likes here on Facebook. Wow, someone actually retracted a like on YouTube. That's disappointing. Was it something I said? See, has the GFS started rendering? No, it has not. The RDPS regional has started rendering though. So maybe this will give us an idea if we can compare it to what we see on the NAM model. One thing I noticed right away is the RDPS has much more widespread freezing rain over the passes. Early Wednesday morning and late Tuesday night. But like I said, take this model with a grain of salt. It's not always trustworthy in that aspect. Someone doesn't like the snow forecast. That's probably what it is. See a few more followers are coming in. Thank you guys for continuing to follow on Facebook. And we're back up to 20 likes on YouTube. Cha-ching. All right, 7:10 is the time. We've been streaming since 5. Probably going to start to wrap things up for the night. That is, unless anyone wants to start any more discussion or any new conversation starters, feel free. Sorry if I haven't been a lot of help to any of your questions, especially the more historical stuff. I'll be honest when I say that I'm more more recent when it comes to in-depth analyses like this. Anything before really that needs to be reanalyzed, like back in 1972, for example, I'm probably not going to be the best source for that right now. So just wanted to put that out there just in case. Keith Capolero, Thursday with the associated surface low moving on shore somewhere along the Washington coast to the west coast of Vancouver Island in British Columbia. Yep, perfect. Exactly what we're talking about right now. Good call on that. Yeah, it looks like so far the Canadian RDPS regional model is showing similar to what the NAM regional is showing. It would be fascinating, though. It would be a huge win for the Canadian if it can secure one win. Because I can't think of any recent wins from any Canadian forecast models. Can only think of the European just taking like 90 to 95% of the forecast verification along with that. And then I think the GFS might have gotten a win here and there, but still, the European, in my opinion, reigns superior overall. Maybe it's a bias, but it's just what I've seen since I started really doing in-depth forecasting like this. Cheryl Marie, welcome back. Are we going to have lowland snow? Not anytime soon. You know, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but the guidance just isn't there. At least for the rest of November, it looks extremely unlikely. There's a few things that have to go our way, such as the Gulf of Alaska ridge retrograding off to the west, and the jet stream sliding west with it. You really need the cool air to pull up here in BC and Yukon and then just spill out into here. And then you need a favorably placed surface low to bring in moisture, but not too much marine influence, or else it'll fall as rain. Have you seen a tornado in person? No. Unfortunately not. If you count seeing funnel clouds by drone, I've seen maybe one or two over the area, but that's about it. One or two. I think I have drone footage of a cold air funnel associated with the Puget Sound convergence zone sometime last year. But that's about all I have to document for anything related to a tornado. Yeah, Keith, that will definitely be monitored, and the National Weather Service has also mentioned the need to monitor it. Let me pull up this recent forecast discussion to show you guys as well. See where they mention it. The approaching surface low and its landfall will result in some breezy to gusty winds, most likely along the coast. The nature and location of the strongest winds will depend ultimately on the track of the low, and this will be one of the details going into the holiday that will be monitored. Cheryl says, thank you. That is where I got it from. Okay, good. Okay, yeah, so you were just summarizing what the AFD was showing. So yeah, winter weather advisory from 10 a.m. Tuesday to 4 a.m. Wednesday. This includes all of the Cascade passes, not including the North Cascades. So Stevens, Snoqualmie, White, Chinook, and Cayuse. Also, they looks like they'll be putting out a flood potential outlook for the Skokomish River down in Mason County. Looks like it'll be right around flood stage, but it could go a little bit over action stage. Maybe not quite the flood stage, but action stage more than likely. So it could be just on the cusp of extremely low-end river flooding along the Skokomish after this atmospheric river moves through. But in terms of other area rivers, they have since recovered from the heavier rainfall earlier this month and pose a very minimal flooding risk through the rest of November as it stands. It's possible for severe storms to occur with association to a bomb cyclone. Always possible. You just need the right ingredients. If you were to have a negatively tilted upper level trough, that's mainly what you need to get the right level of moisture in from the desert southwest. Like if you have monsoonal moisture in place, and then you bring that negatively tilted or northwest to southeast axis trough, like it tilts from northwest to southeast and allows that southeasterly flow to come in from the desert southwest. So that gives you what's called your vorticity maximum. It allows diffluence aloft or divergent air aloft that allows a surface low to form. That also allows rising air, which is your source of lift. So you need lift, moisture, and instability in place for thunderstorms. And if you were to have one of those upper level lows bomb out, then it's entirely possible. Yeah, really, the secret to severe storms or strong thunderstorm events overall is to have a negatively tilted trough in a favorable position and the presence of monsoonal moisture off to the southeast. That's what happened with August 17th, 2024, and also partially March 26th, 2025 as well. Although, as we saw, we still had that level of warm air aloft that was in a stubborn place that really capped off the thunderstorms from growing any higher than, I'd like to say, about 20 to 25,000 feet. The storm tops were relatively low top that day, and that marine layer ahead of it really didn't help things. It kept the air really stable ahead of it. That was definitely the deal breaker, and models did an extremely poor job picking that up. Yeah, exactly. The unstable air is instability. So normally you bring that cold air aloft in, which is unstable, with those negatively tilted troughs. Most of the activity is elevated though, so the instability stays well above the ground and isn't always surface-based. In order for March 26th to work out, we really needed that surface-based activity though. With that mid-level capping inversion up in the elevated levels, elevated convection was very limited during that event. So it would have needed a pretty good push from the surface. Which is why we really needed sunlight early in the morning, but instead it took a while for the clouds to burn off. The marine layer was hanging around, which when I saw that marine layer, I knew, oh boy, we may be in trouble. And then we had some isolated stubborn showers pop up ahead of it that really kept a cap on the sunlight reaching the ground because there was a lot of cloud cover. But I was still hopeful it would work out, but you should have seen my face that day during the stream. The stream is still up on YouTube. When people were asking, hey, so are we going to get this severe weather or not? And it was already evening time. And I was so disappointed in myself that I had led myself up to that just to have it bust the way it did. Basically traumatizing. So if all things would have gone as forecasted, maybe .boo, then there certainly would have been I have a good hunch that the 10% hatch risk, the hatched risk for hail, and the 5% tornado risk very likely would have verified. There was more than enough low-level wind shear in the area that day. It's just a shame that things didn't work out like they did, but it's also a good thing because, I saw a lot of pictures of people putting cardboard on their windshields all around. They couldn't park under cover. So yeah, definitely bittersweet, but all of the ingredients were there for at least an isolated tornado threat in the lower valleys, such as the Chehalis River Valley. You know, that 5% extended all the way from Seattle all the way down to Eugene, if I recall correctly. So anywhere along the I-5 corridor from Olympia down to Eugene could have at least seen one or two brief tornadoes had that setup gone the right way. Yeah, the wind profiles don't always have to be favorable. If you get the right terrain features at the right time, let me try rephrasing that. If you get the right ingredients at the right time, with areas with favorable terrain features to create localized shear, you could definitely get a spin up, and that has happened a lot, especially down in Clark County, which I consider the tornado alley of Washington State. Yeah, so sometimes the wind shear doesn't always have to work out, but if you're in an area, like there could be really localized areas where the terrain is favorable for spin ups, even if the wind profile isn't all the way there. For example, of course, the Olympic velocity shear zone. You know, wink, wink, Port Orchard tornado. Wink, wink. I don't think anyone was predicting that day. Yeah, Keith, I remember that too. How storm chasers actually flew out here to chase the storms, and they all left disappointed. Because I think that day, I think the Pacific Northwest had the highest overall tornado risk compared to anywhere else in the country. Then any storms that did form became outflow dominant real quick, and anytime storms become outflow dominant, tornado threat's over. All right, taking a big dip again. See if Ben's watching this. This is a gallon jug, by the way, for anyone just wondering. Worried that people will simply ignore the next time there's a severe thunderstorm threat. That is entirely possible, yes. But we most likely won't have to worry about that until the next calendar year. I do notice that the setups have been a little more favorable in the last year or so. Because not only did we have it on August 17th of last year, we also had it, of course, on March 26th. Which you don't see that kind of setup in March. It's usually more towards the end of summer, beginning of fall. And if I recall correctly, it's a very similar setup to September 7th, 2019, too. I think we had that negatively tilted trough that brought the instability and the lift, and then that monsoonal moisture that brought the fuel for the storms. And it ended up verifying with flying colors, because that was the best lightning show I've ever seen that night. May 4th, 2017 may have been a different setup, though. It could have been similar, but I'd say that one was by far the most overperforming severe setup that I've ever been a part of. Yeah. Obi-Wan Obi, that bottle is comically big. Trust me, when I first introduced it to the workplace, when I was still working at Safeway full-time, everyone got a kick out of it. Everyone. Even the customers were just like, you need that much water? I'm just like, oh, you don't even know. Saw over 400 comments on the news outlet video talking about the thunderstorm, just saying that they knew not to believe people. Yeah, as many fans as I gained that day, I lost a lot too. Like I had gained, like I nearly doubled my audience at that time. think I went from around 6.3K just a few days before the storm to up to 11.6K after it happened. So I gained a little over 5,000, but I lost probably around 1,000 after it was done. So I had a gross value of probably 6 to 6,500 followers. But of course, after you net it out, it's only around, I think it was around 5.3K followers total. Yeah, unfortunately, I had a lot of people upset with me. But, you know, for the right reason. And it completely changed the way that I wrote my forecasts permanently after that. Because, you know, I'll admit, I let the hype get to my head big time. It really shouldn't have happened, and that was a huge, huge wake-up call and reality check. And I've since forecasted much more conservative since then, which is the reason why I haven't immediately sounded the alarm on this Thanksgiving Day wind setup that we're getting. Clouds are just moving on shore now, and you notice there's still some convergence activity hanging out around South Snohomish and North King as well. Some showers starting to make it south into Whatcom and Skagit counties too. The heaviest of showers right now are over Vancouver Metro right now. But the heavier rain is on the way as soon as probably 5 a.m. tomorrow morning. Still a few watching on Facebook, a few on YouTube. All right. Yeah, thank you guys for hanging around. Sorry there's not too much to talk about anymore. Is there anyone here right now that missed my discussion about the possible Thanksgiving Day wind or possible ice accumulation over Snoqualmie Pass tomorrow? Oh, yeah, the Canadian's done. Similar path to the NAM, a little bit stronger, just a little bit, but similar path overall. So the Canadian and the NAM regional models are in pretty favorable agreement by the looks of it. This would once again only bring a slight breeze to parts of the area for a short time. December 18th, 2018. I don't remember that setup. Then again, my memory of anything farther than like really a couple of years ago is spotty. So feel free to remind me, what was the December 18th, 2018 setup? Was that Western Washington or was that Eastern Washington? Was that anywhere else in the Pacific Northwest? Still no GFS. Oh, okay. That was the date of Port Orchard. Okay. Was it? I could have sworn it was October. Was it December? Let me verify that real quick. Yeah, you're right. December 18th. Yeah, good call on that. 45 degrees in Bellingham, gusts at 3.9. Yeah, you can certainly tell the weather's boring during the most active time of the year when the weather people start getting desperate for answers. I know I'm one of those people that's just waiting for something to happen. It's inevitable. You know, it's just that time of the year. Something's eventually going to happen. It's not a matter of if, but when. GFS should start rendering any time now. Jordan Corbell on Facebook. December 2018 was Western Washington. Yeah, that was the Port Orchard tornado. Silverdale had a high wind warning. PSC. Don't think I recognize that acronym. PPSO. Yeah, I'm not sure what that acronym is. Feel free to enlighten me. So yeah, the regional NAM is showing some heavier showers moving through at the back end of that low. This would be 4 p.m. on Thanksgiving, so if you're traveling in the South Sound, it could be a wet and breezy one. Then things dry out pretty quick after that, and then who knows, maybe the next system tries to clip us to the north. So probably only affect the waters, northern coast, and maybe the inland, inland Whatcom County and Skagit County. Yeah, overall, still not looking too impressive on the regional or deterministic models. The ensemble averages, if we go look at the means for wind gusts, this is the EPS, so the European. Showing average wind gusts between 20 to 30 miles per hour. So these are taking all 50 members and averaging them out into one solution. So it's obviously going to show less than the deterministic, but still it's showing an overall breezy day for Thanksgiving regardless of where this low pressure system makes landfall and how strong it is. All right, maybe dot boo. Have a great night, my friend. Take it easy. Public power safety shut off. They intentionally shut off the power. Thank you, Jordan, for letting me know. Appreciate that. Yeah, we've been going for over 2.5 hours, so. All right, 70 views on YouTube, so definitely not one of the larger streams, but still. Overall, pretty good turnout. Lots of questions, which is good. You know, I like to see lots of user engagement, so that's a good sign. Just gonna do a watch hour calculation here real quick. Really trying to build the watch hours on YouTube. Looks like we're at 19.7 watch hours on the stream so far. I think I'm at around 2,100, a little over 2,100 in the last 365 days. So we need to get to 3,000 to start to enable some more benefits. So yeah, these are just showing averages right now. And then if you want to go into percentiles, it shows wind gusts in the 10th percentile and the 90th percentile. So most likely you'll see closer to the 10th percentile. See, for Tacoma, the 10th percentile between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. Thanksgiving is 14 miles per hour, while the 90th percentile is 40 miles per hour. So most likely leaning to somewhere in the middle here. So probably see around 27 miles per hour as the 50th percentile. And then let's look up precipitation as well. Let's do total through this time. This is through the Thanksgiving weekend, and it has close to 2 inches for parts of the Sound. Then again, this is a low-resolution ensemble forecast, so to be taken lightly. It has much heavier amounts, close to 3 inches over the coast, and higher. Most of this possibly falling in the form of snow over the higher elevations. Some spots getting up towards 3.25 or 3.5 inches possible over there. Patrick Jacob Morrison, have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. Much appreciated. Stay dry, stay put. Don't blow away. Now that people are starting to go, I think we're going to start to wind down a little bit. If anyone has any last minute comments, questions, or concerns for me, go ahead and let them be known. See a lot of posts from Chris Nunley for our area. If anyone follows meteorologist Chris Nunley on Facebook, he's actually from Everett. If you notice, he posts a lot from this general area. That's because these are his stomping grounds. Of course, he's getting a lot of hate in the comment section. Go figure. I will paste what the Fraser River outflow is. Perfect. GFS just started rendering. But it's got a while to go. So 0Z GFS. Precipitation type and rate. We're only out to 9 hours right now. See, it only goes between 6 and 9. But most likely not going to stay streaming long enough to show the entirety of the run here. All right. Okay, Judy Ray, welcome in. Missed the update. What's the wind and rain looking like for the Monroe and Bellevue area? Overall, not too much right now. It's looking more like a rainy kind of episode than a windy. And I can go through that one more time. Let's pull up the 18Z European model. So this shows rain starting around the area early in the morning tomorrow. Anytime between 5 and 7 a.m. for most of western Washington, including the Monroe area. This will also fall as the form of snow over the passes. Some freezing rain possible over Snoqualmie Pass that we'll have to watch out for tomorrow night, just as a heads up if you're traveling over there. But after that transitionary period is done, it'll switch over to rain at most of the higher elevations. And the first round of rain with the atmospheric river moves out, and then the warm front moves up, and then that's when our storm system's expected to come through. We're still trying to figure out these details of where and how the storm will impact. So how strong will it be and where will it impact? Because that will determine who gets wind and who doesn't. Overall, let's go look at total precipitation for the area and zoom back in. So this is through the atmospheric river event altogether. Notice things start to taper out for Black Friday, but by the end of it, for the Monroe area, it looks like you'll be at right around maybe just shy of 2 inches of rain. Nothing else but solid rain. Wind, when it comes to wind overall, it's not looking that breezy at all, but I expect this path for the European to shift a little bit farther to the north like it was in previous models. Right now, this only has wind gusts in the 10 to 15 mile per hour range during Thanksgiving for the Monroe and Bellevue area. See, not very much out here in general with this non-favorable storm track. But we will see with tomorrow morning's run if the European shifts farther back north or if it keeps this southward track into Oregon. So as Keith on YouTube says, Fraser outflow refers to winds coming out of the Fraser River Valley. Northeast winds for the north interior of western Washington. Strong is subjective, but generally means winds strong enough to cause power outages and wind damage. Yes, very great summary of it, Keith. Should also mention, too, that the Fraser River outflow is the key to activating snow around western Washington under other ideal conditions. That's how we drive in that modified Arctic air from Canada. But of course, you have to have the cold air pulled up enough to actually cool it down enough to snow. And of course, you can't have too much marine influence or else it'll rain. And a strong enough low pressure system too close will drag in the east winds through the mountains, dry things out, and it won't snow either way. So extremely tricky parameters to get snow around here. But the huge snow events in the past, which are far and few, our wind conditions lined up just about perfect. As close as you can get to perfect. Looks like we crossed 20 watch hours there on the stream with that. A couple more people hopping in on Facebook. Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for tuning in. Anthony with Puget Sound Stormwatch here, streaming on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. I'd like to give a huge shout out to Benjamin Yurkovich of Washington Weather Chasers for suggesting the software to do this. There's a lot of other software out there to simulcast, but unfortunately a lot of it requires premium subscriptions. This one I was able to do it for free of cost. Free of anything. So, yeah, huge shout out to Ben for that. My old roommates where I used to live would give me bad time whenever I mentioned the wind coming out of the Fraser River Valley. Sounds like their loss. Am I right? Sounds like their loss. They should have taken the opportunity to educate themselves on the significance of that wind. So it looks like the Europeans kind of picking up on that Thanksgiving Eve as well. Let's see how the GFS is doing. We're up to 27 hours on the GFS. Still not close enough to see the position of that low quite yet. See, still good agreement on the timing of the rain coming in tomorrow. 4 a.m. to 7 a.m. And it just keeps the fire hose aimed at us for most of the day. So, some rain totals up over a half inch expected over the area tomorrow. Possibly hitting close to an inch, if not over an inch in a lot of areas. That's not counting the next system coming in on Thanksgiving either. Sonia says exactly. I think now's a good time to take some melatonin and wind down for sure. Be right back. Judy Ray on Facebook asks, when are you planning on going live again? Going to try to shoot for tomorrow night for a little bit, but no guarantees. If I do go live again, it most likely won't be till after the holiday. So after this is all passed. That's why I'm trying to get as much information out to everyone as much as possible before the treacherous travel begins tomorrow morning. So Just really trying to force feed all of this information to everyone right now so that there's no confusion coming up. So next live stream will probably be Saturday. I'd like to say Saturday. We're not expecting any weather on Saturday, but it would just be another one of my normal sort of Q&A sessions and weather discussion. Perhaps discussing some things coming up in December, because the first week or so of December looks pretty active on some of the long-range models. I can show you guys a little sneak peek at these real quick as well. Like if we go back to the 12Z Euro here. So we go into the first week of December here. We have a little weak frontal system clipping us the night of the 1st. And then we have some more robust systems like this one, bringing a really strong cold front. This would definitely bring some strong winds to the area. The afternoon of the 6th, and then another one right after it, the afternoon of the 8th and the morning time of the 9th. If we go to wind gusts over the area, you see this brings areas, this currently has spots hitting 60 over the Puget Sound, which this is about 2% likely to verify. So before I go too far into this, we have to pump the brakes for a moment and just say this will very, very likely, almost certainly not happen. There's always a chance, but it's almost certain to not happen like this. Then another round of 50 plus going into the 9th. So I'm expecting a significant downtrend as we get closer in time. As we go through the first full week of December, I'm almost certain this will be like these wind speeds will at least be cut to about 3/4 of max strength. The fantasy, as Keith says, yes, this is a preview for you guys to the fantasy forecast. I'll post a lot more about this on my Facebook subscribers tab, as well as my Patreon page as well. I'll show you guys the Patreon here as well, real quick. So I currently have 4 paying patrons. You guys know who you are. Thank you so much. Most recent posts about the winter weather advisory. And then these posts are currently unlocked because I'm viewing them as myself, but some of these will show up as locked. And I do have a 7-day free trial going if you want to try it out for 7 days and not have to pay. However, if you want to, it's $1.99 a month towards supporting Puget Sound Stormwatch. But if you already follow as a subscriber on Facebook, you don't need to do this again here on Patreon. Because I cross-post like 95% of my Facebook posts over to Patreon as well, and all of the subscriber posts are cross-posted over here too. Like here's a lot of the beginning of November posts. So if you guys want to read more on that, the link is patreon.com/CW/Puget Sound Stormwatch. And I'll post it for you guys real quick here down below. It's an additional way of helping support the brand if you're interested. Because I wouldn't be able to do this full time without your guys' help. And right now, really starting to struggle with finances when it comes to running this as a business. Kim Leonard, just found your item late. Wind for Enumclaw Buckley get mentioned for wind yet? Yeah, so right now, completely ignore this. Completely ignore that. That was fantasy, so don't be alarmed by that. Currently, though, for wind gusts around the Enumclaw Buckley area, it's looking anemic right now over the next few days. See, with this system passing on Thanksgiving, it only has wind gusts around 25 miles per hour for the Enumclaw Buckley area. I expect this track to shift a little more to the north, so we'll have to watch that closely over the next coming days. But I'll make sure to update everyone on Facebook and Patreon if that happens. So Kim Leonard, you know where to find me on Facebook. But right now, no concerns for wind. Connie or Coney Jones, sorry if I messed up your name, on Facebook. Our weather has been calm this fall compared to other years. Absolutely. It's also been warmer than average, too. A couple other local YouTubers were talking about this, like Randy with Whatcom County Weather. If you guys want to go follow Whatcom County Weather on Facebook and YouTube. Really, really great page run by a few people up in Whatcom County, of course. I believe Randy was talking about the temperature anomalies here in the Pacific Northwest compared to average. And we've been running a few degrees above average as well. Sonia has a switch to the tablet. It will take a bit. That's fine. Probably I'm gonna milk this out to 3 hours and then we're gonna wind down. So at around 8 o'clock is when the live stream should be shutting down for the night. Let's hope it stays. No concern for wind, says Jordan. And Kim Leonard says, you are the best. Thank you. Thank you, Kim, for tuning in again. Much appreciated. Jordan has fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Although it would be nice to have something eventful for once. You know, the audience retention has been down historically for this time of year compared to other years. And of course, this is the first fall I've been doing this full time. But it may be the only fall I'm doing this full time. So I'm taking advantage of it as much as I can right now. And the truth is, this is where I become transparent with the viewership. You know, the truth is I need several thousand people to donate on a monthly basis to keep it full time. Because right now it's just, you know, it's just not going to work out long term. Cheryl Marie says, you're the best, Anthony. Thank you so much, Cheryl, for the kind words. But yeah, the truth is I need a lot of help to keep doing this. And I know that I'm not going to get it. And it is what it is. But, you know, everyone who has helped to this day, I am beyond appreciative of all of you. And I couldn't thank you guys enough. But, you know, I just have to keep it real and say it's nowhere near enough to realistically live off of. Don't, like... You know, trust me when I say that I love doing this full time and I would love to continue doing this full time. But, you know, being tight on money when it comes to doing this is making it a lot less enjoyable than I thought it was going to be. That's the reality behind it. But, you know, there's a lot of generous souls out there, a lot of people who have helped over the last few months that I've been full-time. You know, huge shout out goes to all of you. And you guys know exactly who you are. So I couldn't thank you guys enough for everything. Like, truly. Beyond grateful for everyone watching right now. But I guess that's enough for the emotional sentiment of this forecast. Let's go see what the GFS is doing. Looks like the GDPS, the Canadian Deterministic, also started rendering too. I don't always use that model primarily. Sonia says, Anthony, I will help get you to where you want to be. Yeah, thank you for the kind words, Sonia. But unfortunately, it's not looking realistic right now. You know, I'm grateful for the few patrons that I have, and everyone that's donated coffees, the one-time donations. There's even a couple of people that donate coffees on a monthly basis, which is really cool. And I think I just hit 70 subs for like the third or fourth time on Facebook because, you know, you lose some, you gain some, the cycle repeats itself. And I have that set at 99 cents per month. But then when Facebook and other adverts, like other companies, take about 25% of that cost out of it. Right now with 70 subs, I'm only netting around $50 to $55 per month just off of that. And yeah, this is just me being 100% transparent with you guys. Judy says, I wish we could just pay for a yearly sub all at once and not monthly. Yeah, I do suggest that Facebook would do that as well, but right now, I don't think any of these services have an option for a yearly down payment. Very sorry about that again. Yeah, I do feel like doing it yearly would also be beneficial to a large audience. So, Judy, I do agree with you. I do wish that they had annual options as well. Coffee or Ko-Fi may... Okay, no, they don't. I was going to say, I could have sworn they may have had a yearly, but it's either one time or yearly. Let me just refresh this to make sure I didn't miss any coffee donations, but no, last one was 20 days ago. Actually, my birthday, you see where it says happy birthday here, was 23 days ago. I actually received so many coffees from you guys on my birthday. Like, not only was I genuinely blown away, but it took PayPal 3 weeks to be able to verify all of the donations that came in. Like, even still today, like, I received the coffee today from a generous viewer. Thank you. You know who you are if you're watching right now. But another coffee came out of thin air, and it's just because I received so much at one time that PayPal actually put a hold on my account, which I guess is a $152 per month threshold that you have to reach. And I reached that in probably 4 hours. You should have seen my face when I saw people donating anywhere between 5 to 10 coffees at one time. Like, it was beyond amazing. And, you know, you guys are the best. Like, you guys are truly the best. But I don't want to keep talking about money during this stream. All of us are here for one reason, and that's the weather. So I'm not going to drag it any farther than that. But I just wanted to give you guys my sentiment again one more time. This is the last GFS. I want the 0Z GFS. This is the one that's rendering right now. So it's out to 84 hours, so it should be in range of our event. I don't use this for wind. It's because of the low resolution. I mainly use it for storm positioning mostly. Just to get an estimate on where it wants to position any mid-latitude cyclones on here. This is starting to drag it farther south too, so it's starting to lean more towards the euro. Just think about it. Last night, the euro was all the way up here, and now it's all the way down here. This is why it's always super important and critical to pay attention to each and every update that gets posted. Because this forecast right now is extremely erratic with the positioning and strength of this. This would bring basically no wind to us on Thanksgiving. And all of my previous blog posts about this would be null and void at best. Let's compare this to the 18Z. See, the 18Z was stronger and much farther north. This would be a much more favorable storm track with a nice little 6 millibar gradient between Seattle and Chehalis. That would bring a decent bout of winds if that were to verify. But the new one, like 150 to 200 miles farther to the southwest, completely different scenario with the 0Z GFS compared to the previous run. This is why, yeah, the changes are beyond crucial to pay attention to. Canadian's still out of range too. Yeah, it's going to take a while. But if there's one thing that every single model agrees on right now, it's the atmospheric river coming in tomorrow morning. Every single model shows this band of precipitation coming in and just soaking us tomorrow morning, all the way into the early morning hours of Wednesday. So just as a heads up, that could apply to some people. All right, guys, we officially crossed the 3-hour mark. I can feel my melatonin that I took starting to kick in, so we're going to wind it down over the next few minutes. See, rainy commute tomorrow, 100%. As soon as the sun rises, it's most likely going to be pouring down rain over the interstate and all of the surrounding highways. It's going to be snowing over the passes, too, and the Olympics, just as an added heads up. Yeah, guys, I think that just about does it for tonight. Appreciate everyone for coming out. Thank you all for your questions. And thank you all for the kind words as well, Facebook and YouTube. Pretty good turnout today. See, looks like we are at 78 likes on Facebook and 22 on YouTube. And the goal of these live streams is not only to get as much information out as possible, but to also build up our watch hour count on YouTube, so we can begin to enable other streaming benefits and channel memberships, such as purchasing super chats, for example. Still quite a long ways to go, so thank you all for tuning in. You guys have done huge dividends to help out the channel and the brand. Yeah, Keith Capolero, have a great night. Sonia says, thank you, great job as always. Thank you, Sonia, for moderating, much appreciated. Sonia says, good night, everyone. And good night on Facebook as well, if you're still watching. Looks like there's only a couple of you watching right now, but yeah, activity has come to a halt on Facebook, so. All right, guys, appreciate every one of you. Let me just write to all of you guys real quick. All right, I think that will about do it. So with that being said, Anthony here from Puget Sound Stormwatch, signing off for the night. Expect a new blog post tomorrow morning. Also a new subscribers post as well. Been keeping up really well with the flow of posting at least one subscriber post, and also cross-posting it to Patreon too. So if you subscribe on Patreon and or Facebook, expect another post in the long range based on what tonight's model runs and tomorrow morning's model runs show. Because the first week of December is looking particularly active. We'll have to watch that closely. So a couple different rounds of windstorm potential we'll be keeping our eyes on. But that won't be till probably the first weekend of December. So that's what it looks like right now, the overall synopsis. Okay, everyone, this is going to be it for this time, for sure. So Anthony signing off. Have a great night, everyone. You all take care.